Well, here we have something a little bit different. This was actually a present from two very, very good friends of mine. And they happen to know that I like repairing and restoring stuff. And they thought I might like this. Yeah, let's have a closer look at it. This is a very, very nice 10-inch Vernier Caliper. Now, it's a double whammy for me because obviously, looking, as you can see, it's got some surface rust and it's grimy and it definitely needs some work done on it. But I do not have a 10-inch caliper of any shape or form, so this is going to be a very useful tool, assuming that it's okay for the workshop. Now, I did a bit of research, and the only information I can find on any company which is called British N.S.F. Company Limited is that there was a German company, I can't remember the name of the company, but they set up a factory in Croydon in the early 1930s, and it was called the British N.S.F. Company. So I'm assuming that that's where this came from. Now, they made small aircraft parts, as far as I can understand. There's not a lot of information about them. So I very much doubt whether this caliper was made by them, but what I suspect is, and I may be wrong, but what I suspect is that this caliper was issued to the people that worked for the British N.S.F. Company Limited. So it's probably quite old. That's my theory. If anyone knows better than that, then please let me know. Right, let's get it out of its box and have a look at it. Yeah, as I said, it's got some surface rust on it, particularly on the slide here and the vernier adjuster. And it's got some marks on it, just general grub. Let's turn it around so you can look at the outside. But I think it will clean up. Okay, the slide does move. It's very, very tight. I've loosened the screws off there fine, but to try and move it, you can move it, but it is very, very, very stiff. So I think that it's definitely going to need some attention. As I said, I think what we'll do first is I think we'll give it a quick spray with some isopropyl alcohol and give it a good rub down with some cloth and see whether it frees it up a little bit. Okay, so we'll just give it a little bit of a squirt with the old isopropyl alcohol. And we'll give it a little going over with the old rag. Yeah. It's worse in some places, the rust, than it is in others. So let me come out of it. Let's see whether we can move this or not. Yeah, that has actually freed it up. So I'll give it a bit more of a squirt. I think we need to move these lights around a bit, it's a bit too bright. So let's try moving it again. Yeah. Let's give the other side a clean. Again, you can see the rust here. It's quite bad. Right, it obviously needs to be taken apart. Right. Yeah, well, it's definitely moving a lot better now. This is much freer than it was. So I think the next stage is to get the thing stripped down completely, get it stripped apart, and then we need to start the de-rusting process. Okay, so there it is, all stripped down. The main body's not too bad from the point of rust. This is the worst bit. This is quite badly rusted, both sides, as is the adjuster. So I'm going to give it all a wash down with acetone to get all the grease and crud out of it, or as much as I can, and then we'll just put it in vinegar and that will hopefully remove the surface rust, a vast majority of it, and then we'll be ready for the final cleanup. Well, I've given it a damn good clean with acetone, and it's now in the vinegar bath where it will stay overnight, and hopefully that will remove all of that surface rust. It's interesting, it didn't look particularly dirty when I first started cleaning it, but we'll go over and have a look at the remnants of the acetone cleaning. Yeah, I mean, I use cotton buds and acetone, and as you can see, certainly inside the slides it was particularly grubby and gummy, and you know, just pretty filthy. So yeah, the acetone's great for removing grease and stuff like that. It does really, really well. But as I said, now we'll leave it in the vinegar bath. Yeah, we'll leave it in the vinegar bath overnight, and hopefully that should get rid of all of that surface rust. That should all be gone. If we can give it a nice wipe over, polish it up a little bit, and it should be good as new with a bit of luck. So the Vernier Caliper has been soaking in the vinegar for about 24 hours. And I haven't touched it. I've looked at it occasionally, but we're going to take the top off. I've covered it up because it's quite hot here in the UK at the moment, and it stops the vinegar from evaporating. Oh yeah, and as you can see, the aluminium muffins make great paperweights, and that's what one of them looks like after it's been machined. Right, let's have a look. Well, that's interesting. As you can see, before any kind of brushing goes on, it's still fairly clean. There are some bubbles, which is great, which means that the vinegar is reacting with the rust, and there is some particulate matter. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a light brushing over with a brass wire brush, and we'll see what effect that has. Well, that's definitely improved things. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it out of the vinegar, rinse it all off in fresh water, dry it off, and then we'll have a closer look at it. Right, they've been washed off in fresh water, and I must admit, I think the first stage of cleaning has come out quite well. As you can see, very little rust left on these now, nice and clean. I am going to put the small components, all of this lot, into the ultrasonic cleaner. The reason being is I can't really get into these slots. The ultrasonic cleaner will get into these slots and remove any remaining crud that's on there. The main part of the caliper is cleaned up really well, both sides. So I think I'll probably, what I might do with that next is I might just try a little bit of metal polish and see how that comes up with a bit of polish. We may not have to do any more to it than that. Well, it's all in the ultrasonic cleaner, and it's vinegar that's in there. I got it on, and I'm just waiting for it to heat up. That's going to take a little while for the vinegar to warm up, and then we'll run it for 15 minutes, and hopefully that should clean out any of the remaining gunk and muck that's in there. Well, it's up to temperature, so we're going to get it going. Right, well, that's going to be going for 15 minutes, and then we'll come back. Well, our 15 minutes are up, and the vinegar looks a lot dirtier than it was when we started. So I'm going to pull these out, dump them in some water to wash them, and then we'll have a close look. So this is what the parts look like. They've been in the ultrasonic cleaner and they've been dried, washed off. I'm glad I did it, because what I didn't realise was the main slide and the adjuster slide, they both have little tiny gibs, little tiny gib plates. I didn't realise that. So that was useful. So yeah, I think that's about as much deep clean as we can do. I'm going to I ended up using the brass wire wheel on the main body of the caliper, and it's come up really, really well. Unfortunately, where the slide had been stuck in one position for so long, there is a line of corrosion, little pitting marks down here, which I just really can't get rid of. But the rest of it cleaned up quite nicely, so I'm quite pleased about that. So I'll do the same with the small parts, and then we'll give it a light oiling and put it all back together. Well, here it is all back together. I don't think it looks too bad at all. It's turned out very, very nice. It's pretty smooth over the length of the slide. There is a tight spot, which I'm not really surprised, which is just around the 2-inch mark. But you know, apart from that, you can slide it quite easily. So the question is, of course, you know, how accurate is this thing? Well, I only have 2 gauges, and the only one I trust is this one, which is a 2-inch Moore and Wright gauge. It came with a 3-inch Moore and Wright micrometer. So we're going to use that, put it in the caliper and see what the caliper reads. Okay, there's the gauge, and I moved this in close, and then I used the adjuster to put it up. It's not tight. This can move, so it's a good fit in there. So we'll close in and have a look at the actual reading. Well, I don't know how well you can see that, but to me and my eyesight, that looks pretty much spot on. Which, you know, this thing could be, well, let's say it was made in the 1940s. It's 80 years old, over 80 years old. And, you know, it's all been stripped down and taken apart, but that is pretty damn good. Let's stick the gauge in a modern caliper and see what it says. Well, it looks like the cheapo Chinese caliper is telling us that this is 1 thou over 2 inches, which is, you know, pretty much agrees dead on with the actual Vernier caliper. So yeah, and I trust the actual gauge pin far better than I do the actual digital caliper. But there you go. Well, I think that'll about do it for the restoration on the actual caliper itself. Still got the box to do, but obviously the important thing is getting the caliper into a usable state, which it now is, and it's great. I mean, like I said, I don't have a 10-inch caliper, so, you know, it's going to be really, really useful in the workshop. All I've got to do now is try and remember how to read a vernier scale. Yay! Okay, that'll be it for now. Hope you've enjoyed this little video. As always, thanks very much for watching. Cheers!